The Grand Council chamber floated 300 kilometers above Valthos Prime. Inside the massive structure, representatives from 847 species waited in their designated sections. The chamber stretched so far that the opposite wall disappeared into a manufactured haze. Crystalline pillars rose from the floor, each one displaying the symbol of a member species. At the center, on a throne carved from a single piece of black stone, sat Emperor Krelthar. He had ruled the Valtharan Empire for 6,000 years. Today was supposed to be simple. Another primitive species would bow before the Empire. Another world would join the great civilization that spanned half the galaxy. The Emperor had witnessed this ceremony thousands of times. It always ended the same way. Hyunwoo walked through the main entrance with Jia at his side. They wore simple dark suits. Nothing like the elaborate robes and armor of the alien representatives around them. Hyunwoo's face showed no emotion as he moved forward. Jia carried a small data device in her hand. Every eye in the chamber turned toward them. High Chancellor Vormis stood from his seat beside the Emperor. His voice boomed through the chamber, amplified by technology that made it sound like thunder. The humans have arrived. Let them approach the throne and deliver their petition. Whispers spread through the assembled aliens. Many had heard of Earth. The Valtharan scout fleet had discovered the planet 6 months ago. A small world, they said. One species. No colonies. One. No faster than light travel. No energy shields. Nothing of value except the raw materials in their star system. The Empire had sent a message. The scout fleet fired their main cannon at Earth's moon. It was meant to be a warning, a demonstration of power, a way to show the humans that resistance was pointless. But something went wrong. The calculations were off by a fraction of a degree. The beam missed the moon and struck Earth instead. 4.3 million humans died in seconds. Hyunwoo and Jia reached the center of the chamber. They stood before the Emperor's throne, 50 meters below it. Hyunwoo did not kneel. He did not bow. He simply looked up at the ancient ruler and waited. Emperor Krelthar leaned forward. His eyes, multiple pupils spinning in different directions, focused on the human. You are here to submit your world to the Empire. Speak your petition quickly. We have many matters to attend to today. Hyunwoo's voice was calm and clear. We are not here to submit. We are here to discuss what happened 6 months ago. You struck our home. The chamber erupted in laughter. The sound echoed off the walls like a physical wave. High Chancellor Vormis raised his hand for silence, but a smile played at the edges of his mouth. The human speaks boldly for one whose planet hangs by a thread. Yes, your world was damaged. An unfortunate miscalculation. But this is why you are here. Submit to the Empire, and we will help rebuild what was lost. Refuse, and your entire species will share the fate of those 4 million. Jia stepped forward and activated her data device. A holographic display appeared above them, visible to everyone in the chamber. It showed Earth from space. Blue and green and white. Beautiful. Then the image changed. A beam of red light came from above. It struck the Pacific Ocean. The water vaporized instantly. The energy continued into the crust. Rock turned to plasma. A crater 200 kilometers wide appeared in seconds. The shockwave that followed killed millions more in the coastal regions. The laughter stopped. Hyunwoo continued speaking. You killed 4.3 million people. Mothers, fathers, children, scientists, artists, farmers, people who had never heard of you, people who never wanted anything to do with your empire. You erased them because you wanted to send a message. Emperor Krelthar waved his hand dismissively. 4 million is a small number. In galactic terms, it barely registers. You should be grateful it was not 40 million. Or 400 million. Submit now, and no more will die. We spent 1 week mourning, Hyunwoo said. His voice remained steady. We buried what bodies we could find. We held ceremonies in every nation. We cried together. Then we stopped crying. Jia brought up another image. This one showed humans in laboratories. Thousands of them. Working around the clock. The time stamp in the corner showed the date was 2 weeks after the attack. We spent 2 weeks studying the beam that killed our people, Hyunwoo explained. We analyzed every particle of residual energy. We traced the trajectory back to your scout fleet. We examined the weapon signature. We learned everything we could about how you killed us. High Chancellor Vormis interrupted. Impossible. Your species does not have that level of technology. You cannot even travel between stars. We couldn't, Hyunwoo agreed. But we learned. Fast. Another image appeared. This one showed construction. Massive platforms being built in orbit around Earth. Hundreds of thousands of workers. Ships carrying materials up from the surface. Assembly lines producing components at a speed that seemed impossible. We spent 1 week building, Hyunwoo said. We took what we learned from your weapon, and we made our own. Better. More efficient. More accurate. The Emperor stood from his throne. The movement sent a ripple of shock through the chamber. He never stood during these ceremonies. You expect us to believe that in 1 month, your primitive species reverse-engineered Valtharan weapons technology? That you built orbital platforms? That you now pose a threat to an empire that has existed for 10,000 years? Hyunwoo met his gaze without flinching. I expect you to believe the evidence. I expect you to understand what you have done. You attacked people who wanted to be left alone. You murdered millions who never raised a hand against you. And you made us decide whether we would die quietly or survive loudly. Jia added quietly. We chose survival. Emperor Krelthar's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper that somehow carried through the entire chamber. Then you have chosen extinction. I will grant you 10 minutes to kneel and beg for mercy. After that, the full might of the Valtharan fleet will turn your world to dust. 10 minutes. Human. Choose wisely. Hyunwoo smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who knew something important that others did not. 10 minutes is more than enough time. Thank you, Emperor. The chamber fell silent. Something in Hyunwoo's tone made even the most confident aliens feel a whisper of doubt. What did these humans know? What had they done in just 1 month? The clock began counting down. Hyunwoo did not move as the countdown appeared on every display in the chamber. 10 minutes. 600 seconds. The Emperor expected him to panic, to plead, to offer everything Earth had in exchange for survival. Instead, Hyunwoo simply nodded to Jia. She activated a new sequence on her data device. The holographic display expanded, filling the space above the center of the chamber. Every representative could see it clearly now. The image showed Earth before the attack. Cities glowing with light. Ships crossing oceans. Aircraft tracing lines across continents. A world full of life and activity. This is what you destroyed, Hyunwoo said. His voice carried through the chamber without amplification. Something about the silence made every word clear. We were alone in our solar system. We had no enemies. We spent our energy building things, creating art, exploring our own world. We argued with each other about borders and resources and ideas, but we were learning to work together, slowly, imperfectly, but we were trying. The image changed. Now it showed the moment of impact from ground level. People going about their daily lives. A woman holding a child's hand. A man selling fruit at a market. Students laughing together outside a school. Then, the sky turned white. The brightness was so intense that the camera feeds simply burned out. Several alien representatives looked away. Others watched with expressions that might have been discomfort. The Empire had destroyed countless civilizations over 10,000 years, but usually those civilizations had fought back first. They had attacked Valtharan ships, or refused diplomatic contact, or posed some kind of threat, Earth had done none of those things. The energy from your weapon vaporized everything within 80 kilometers instantly, Hyunwoo continued. The heat flash killed people 200 kilometers away. The shockwave destroyed cities 500 kilometers from the impact point. The tsunamis that followed drowned coastal areas around the entire ocean. 4.3 million dead. 50 million more injured. 200 million displaced from their homes. High Chancellor Vormis spoke, but his voice lacked the confidence from before. War has casualties. This is the nature of galactic expansion. Your people should have. We were not at war, Hyunwoo interrupted. You never declared war. You never gave us a chance to surrender. You never even introduced yourselves. You simply appeared in our sky and killed millions of us to make a point. Emperor Krelthar leaned back in his throne. You speak as if you have leverage, human. You have none. In 8 minutes, this conversation will end. What happens after depends entirely on whether you kneel. Hyunwoo glanced at the countdown. 8 minutes and 12 seconds. Let me tell you what we did in the month after you attacked us. Let me explain why I am not kneeling. Jia brought up a new series of images. These showed the inside of research facilities. Thousands of scientists working at computer terminals. Massive particle accelerators. Energy field generators. Weapons testing ranges. The timestamp showed this was 2 weeks after the attack. We studied your weapon, Hyunwoo said. Every nation on Earth contributed their best minds. We shared all our research freely. No secrets. No competition. Just one goal. Understand how you killed us, so we could make sure you never did it again. The images showed graphs and equations that many of the alien representatives recognized. They were looking at zero-point energy manipulation. The fundamental technology that powered Voltheron weapons and engines. Technology that took most species thousands of years to develop. A voice called out from one of the upper galleries. It belonged to a scientist from a species that had been part of the Empire for 4,000 years. Impossible. Zero-point energy theory requires computational power that your species cannot possibly possess. It requires materials, science, that takes millennia to develop. You could not have learned this in 2 weeks. You are correct. Hyunwoo agreed. We could not have learned it under normal circumstances. But our circumstances were not normal. We were desperate. We were terrified. And we were angry. So we did something we had never done before at that scale. We unified completely. Jia showed new images. Every major research institution on Earth linked together. Quantum computers, running simulations at speeds that pushed their cooling systems to the breaking point. Teams working 20-hour shifts. People sleeping in laboratories. Entire industries retooling their production lines to build components for experiments. We had one advantage, Hyunwoo said. We had the evidence from your attack. We had residual particles. We had energy signatures. We had the mathematical model written in the crater you left in our ocean. You gave us the blueprint when you tried to kill us. The Emperor's multiple pupils stopped spinning. They focused entirely on Hyunwoo. Even with the blueprint, the engineering required to build zero-point weapons would take decades. You are bluffing. We spent 1 week building, Hyunwoo said. We did not try to match your technology. We improved it. The holographic display changed again. This time, it showed orbital space around Earth. Massive platforms hung in the sky. Each one bristled with weapon arrays. Power generators pulsed with contained energy that registered on every scanner in the council chamber. The aliens who understood weapons technology recognized the signatures immediately. These were not primitive copies of Volthoran weapons. These were next-generation systems. High Chancellor Vormis stood from his seat. His voice was sharp now, cutting through the murmurs spreading across the chamber. This must be fabricated. No species can advance this quickly. It defies every model of technological development we have observed in 10,000 years. Hyunwoo looked at the countdown. 5 minutes remaining. Then your models are incomplete. You have never attacked a species like humanity before. You have never pushed us to the edge of extinction. You did not understand what that would unleash. A new hologram appeared beside Hyun-woo. It was a live feed from Earth. A man in a military uniform stood on an observation deck. Behind him, through a massive viewport, dozens of orbital platforms were visible. Construction crews moved between them like insects around a hive. This is Dae-sung, Hyun-woo introduced. He coordinates Earth's defense network. Dae-sung, please confirm the current status of our orbital systems. Dae-sung's voice was professional and calm. All platforms are operational. We currently have 47 primary weapon arrays online. Each one has the capacity to generate a zero-point energy beam equivalent to the one that struck the Pacific. Our targeting systems can lock onto any vessel within 3 light minutes. Our calculations show a 98% accuracy rate at that range. The chamber exploded in noise. Representatives shouted in dozens of languages. Some demanded proof. Others called for immediate military action. A few simply stared at the hologram, with expressions of disbelief. Emperor Krelthar raised his hand. Silence fell instantly. You have built weapons, impressive for primitives, but you have 47 platforms. The Valtharan fleet has 200,000 ships. Each one carries firepower that could level a continent. Do you truly believe your toys will save you? Redig. 5 or 6. Hyun-woo smiled again. That same knowing smile. No, Emperor. I do not believe our weapons will save us. I believe our resolve will save us. Our weapons are just tools. What matters is that we will never stop building them. Never stop improving them. Never stop preparing. You taught us that the universe is more dangerous than we imagined. Thank you for that lesson. Thank you for that lesson. The countdown reached 3 minutes. You have 3 minutes to kneel, the Emperor said. After that, the time for mercy ends. We both know mercy was never an option, Hyun-woo replied. You destroy what threatens you. You conquer what does not. We are asking for neither destruction nor conquest. We are asking to be left alone. If you refuse, then we will show you exactly what desperate humans can accomplish. Ji-ah closed the holographic display. Hyun-woo. And she stood in silence as the final minutes counted down. They did not look afraid. They looked ready. The entire galaxy watched and waited to see what would happen when the clock reached 0. The countdown reached 0. The holographic numbers disappeared from every display in the chamber. Emperor Krelthar rose from his throne. His form seemed to expand, making him appear even larger than before. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of 6,000 years of absolute authority. Your time has ended, human. You have refused to kneel. You have refused to submit. You have shown disrespect to the Empire in front of representatives from across the galaxy. There is only one response to such arrogance. The Emperor turned to a figure standing in the shadows behind his throne. Admiral Thexlan stepped forward. He commanded the Valthoran fleet stationed in this sector. 200 ships under his direct control, each one capable of destroying a city with a single shot. Admiral, the Emperor commanded, bring the fleet into formation above the council chamber. Let these humans see what real power looks like. Let them understand the magnitude of their mistake. Admiral Thexlan bowed. He touched a communication device on his wrist. Orders went out instantly. In orbit above Valthos Prime, engines ignited. 200 massive warships began moving into position. Hyun-woo watched the ceiling of the chamber. It was transparent, showing the sky above. Stars were visible, despite the brightness from the planet below. Now those stars began to disappear. Shadows fell across the chamber as the warships moved overhead. Each vessel stretched 3 kilometers from bow to stern. Their hulls absorbed light, making them appear as holes in reality. Weapon ports glowed with contained energy. The alien representatives looked up with expressions of satisfaction. This was the power of the Empire. This was why 847 species had submitted. Who could stand against such might? Hyun-woo looked up at the fleet without fear. He counted the ships calmly. 197 vessels. Admiral Thexlan frowned. 200 ships, human. Perhaps your primitive eyes cannot count that high. I count 197, Hyun-woo repeated. You are missing 3 ships. The patrol vessels stationed at the outer edge of this system. Where are they? The Admiral's frown deepened. He touched his communication device again. Command to Patrol Group 7. Report status. Silence. Command to Patrol Group 7. Respond immediately. More silence. High Chancellor Vormis leaned forward. What is happening? Where are those ships? Hyun-woo glanced at Jia. She activated her data device one more time. A new holographic display appeared. It showed 3 Valthoran warships floating in space. Their lights were dark. Their engines were cold. Their weapons were destroyed. Debris drifted around them in clouds. But life support appeared to be functioning. The crews were alive, but stranded. They are no longer operational. Hyun-woo said simply. But the crews are safe. We do not kill, unless we must. The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted over each other. How was this possible? Who had attacked those ships? Where was the human fleet? Sensors showed no unknown vessels anywhere in the system. Admiral Thexlan's face changed from confusion to rage. You attack Valthoran ships and then stand here boasting about it? You have just declared war on the entire Empire. No. Hyun-woo corrected. You declared war when you killed 4.3 million of my people. We are simply making sure you understand that we can defend ourselves. Emperor Krelthar's voice cut through the noise like a blade. Enough, Admiral. Destroy the human ship that attacked our patrol. Find it and eliminate it immediately. There is no need to find it, a new voice said. The voice was female and calm. It came through the communication systems, broadcasting to every being in the chamber. This is Captain Min Seo of the Earth Defense Ship Defiance. We are already here. End of first. Every scanner in the council chamber activated simultaneously. The readings appeared on displays throughout the room. A ship had just appeared on sensors. It was small compared to the Valthoran warships, maybe 300 meters long. But its energy signature was enormous. Power readings that matched vessels 10 times its size. Admiral Thexlan stared at the readings in disbelief. How did you get this close? Our sensors should have detected you 1,000,000 kilometers away. Your sensors did detect us, Min Seo replied. We have been in orbit around Valthos Prime for 3 hours. You classified us as a cargo vessel. Your systems never looked deeper than that. The Admiral's hands clenched into fists. All ships, target the human vessel. Prepare to fire on my command. That would be unwise, Hyun-woo said. His voice was still calm. Still steady. Captain Min Seo is not alone. The scanners went wild. New contacts appeared all around Valthos Prime. 12 more ships. They had been there the entire time, hidden by technology that fooled Valthoran sensors. Each one now revealed itself by powering up weapons systems. Jia brought up a tactical display. It showed the positions of all 13 Earth ships. They were positioned around critical infrastructure, the planetary defense grid, the main power generation facility, the communication arrays, the space elevator that connected the surface to orbital stations. Every target was locked. These are your choices, Hyun-woo said, addressing the Emperor directly now. You can order your fleet to fire on our ships. Some of you will hit your targets, but before your weapons reach us, our weapons will reach your infrastructure. This entire system will go dark. Trade will stop. Communication will fail. Your beautiful capital world will be cut off from the Empire. It will take months to repair the damage. He paused, letting that image sink in. Or you can choose to talk. You can listen to what we want. You can understand that we are not here to conquer you. We are here to make sure you never attack Earth again. Admiral Thexlan looked to the Emperor for orders. Every gun in the Voltheran fleet was ready to fire. Every captain waited for the command. The power contained in those 200 ships could crack a planet's crust. But the power contained in the 13 human ships, aimed at the heart of Valthos Prime, could cripple the Empire's capital. For months, Emperor Krelthar had ruled for 6,000 years. He had won 1,000 wars. He had crushed countless rebellions. He had never retreated. He had never compromised. But he had also never faced an enemy that appeared out of nowhere with weapons that matched his own and the will to use them. The silence stretched. Every being in the chamber held their breath. Finally, the Emperor spoke. His voice was cold and hard. "Stand down, Admiral. For now." He turned his gaze to Hyun-woo. "You have our attention, human. Speak your terms. But know this. If you are bluffing, if your ships cannot do what you claim, then nothing in the universe will save your species from what comes next." Hyun-woo nodded once. "We are not bluffing, and we do not make empty threats. Captain Minseo, please demonstrate our capabilities on the designated target." Minseo's voice came through clearly. "Target confirmed. Firing." One of the Earth ships, positioned far from any inhabited areas, activated its main weapon. A beam of pure white energy lanced out and struck an abandoned asteroid in orbit around Valthos Prime. The asteroid had been scheduled for mining operations. It was 3 kilometers across. Solid rock and metal. The beam touched it for exactly 1 second. When the light faded, the asteroid was gone. Not broken apart. Not scattered into pieces. Simply gone. Vaporized so completely that sensors could barely detect the residual particles. The chamber fell into absolute silence. Hyun-woo looked up at the Emperor. "We do not want to use this power. We do not want war. We want peace. And what we have, Emperor, is more than you imagined possible." The Emperor slowly sat back down on his throne. For the first time in 6,000 years, he looked uncertain. "Let us talk," he said finally. Hyun-woo smiled. "Yes, let us talk." The Grand Council chamber emptied quickly. Representatives from 847 species returned to their quarters. They sent urgent messages to their homeworlds. They debated among themselves what they had just witnessed. A primitive species had challenged the Empire and lived. More than lived. They had demonstrated power that made the Empire hesitate. Hyun-woo and Ji-ah were escorted to a private chamber deep within the council structure. The room was smaller than the main hall, but still enormous by human standards. A table stretched 30 meters down the center. High Chancellor Vormis sat on one side, with Admiral Thexlan and several military advisors. Emperor Krelthar sat at the head of the table in a chair that seemed to be made from living crystal. On the other side, Hyun-woo and Ji-ah sat alone. The Emperor spoke first. "You have committed an act of war against the Voltheran Empire. You have disabled our ships. You have threatened our capital world. You have humiliated us in front of the entire galaxy. Give me one reason why I should not order your extermination right now." Hyun-woo met his gaze steadily. "Because you cannot win. Not quickly. Not without devastating losses. And while you are busy destroying us, the rest of the galaxy will be watching. They will see that the mighty empire can be challenged. They will see that species with far less power than yours can make you bleed. How many others will rise up after we are gone? How many rebellions will you face? How many wars on how many fronts?" High Chancellor Vormis tapped his fingers on the table. "You assume you can make us bleed. You have 13 ships. We have 200,000. Your display of power was impressive, but it was just one shot against an asteroid. Can you sustain that kind of firepower? For how long? Against how many targets?" Ji-ah activated her data device. A projection appeared above the table. It showed Earth. Around it, orbital platforms glowed with active energy signatures. The number 47 appeared beside each cluster. These are our current defensive platforms, she explained. 47 weapon arrays. Each one capable of generating zero-point energy beams. Each one can fire continuously for 3 hours before needing to recharge. That is enough time to disable or destroy hundreds of ships. Admiral Thexlon laughed. It was a bitter sound. 47 platforms against 200,000 ships. The mathematics are simple. We would overwhelm you in days. Perhaps, Hyunwoo agreed, if we had only 47 platforms. But we do not stop building. Jia, show them the construction schedule. The projection changed. It showed a timeline extending into the future. More platforms appeared. The numbers grew. 50 platforms in 2 weeks. 60 in 4 weeks. 75 in 6 weeks. The growth was exponential. We are not a static target, Hyunwoo explained. Every day we build more. Every week, we improve our designs. Every month we get stronger. If you attack us now, you might win. But you will lose thousands of ships. And every day you delay, the cost grows higher. Emperor Krelthar's pupils spun faster. A sign of agitation. You cannot possibly maintain this rate of construction. The resources required would drain your entire world. The energy needed would consume your power generation capacity. You are bluffing. Show them, Hyunwoo said quietly to Jia. She pulled up a new set of data. This one showed energy readings from Earth. The numbers were staggering. Power generation that exceeded anything the Empire had seen from a single planet. Energy output that kept climbing every day. A new hologram appeared. An older man in a laboratory coat stood surrounded by complex equipment. His name appeared below the image. Taemin, Chief Scientist, Earth Defense Research. Greetings, Taemin said. His voice carried the exhaustion of someone who had not slept properly in weeks. I understand you have questions about our energy production. Let me explain what we discovered. Right. He gestured to the equipment around him. When your scout fleet fired on Earth, you used zero-point energy manipulation. This technology taps into the quantum foam of space-time itself. It accesses unlimited energy by borrowing from the fundamental structure of reality. Admiral Thexlon interrupted. We know how our own weapons work. Human. This technology took our civilization 4,000 years to develop. You cannot simply replicate it in weeks. Taemin smiled tiredly. You are correct. We did not replicate it. We improved it. Your weapon left traces, energy signatures, particle decay patterns, mathematical relationships encoded in the physics of the explosion. We studied those traces. We ran simulations. We tested theories. And we realized something you apparently missed. He pulled up a complex equation on the display behind him. Your zero-point energy extraction is only 37% efficient. You lose most of the energy to dimensional bleed-off. We found a way to capture that bleed-off. Our systems run at 62% efficiency. We generate nearly twice as much power from the same quantum fluctuations. The room fell silent. The Valtheran scientists had spent millennia perfecting their technology. The idea that a primitive species had improved it in 1 month was beyond insulting. It was impossible. Except the evidence was right there in front of them. High Chancellor Vormis spoke carefully. If what you say is true, then you have unlimited energy. You could industrialize at a rate we cannot match. You could build ships faster than we could destroy them. You could become a threat not just to this sector but to the entire empire. Yes, Hyunwoo said simply. We could. Emperor Krelthar stood from his chair. The crystal seemed to pulse with light as he moved. Then I have no choice. You must be destroyed now, before you grow strong enough to challenge us directly. This is not cruelty. This is survival. You are too dangerous to exist. Quote, we are dangerous because you made us dangerous, Hyunwoo replied, his voice rising for the first time. We were content on our world. We had problems, yes. Conflicts, disagreements. But we were working through them. We were learning, growing. Then you came. You killed millions of us without warning, without mercy, without even the courtesy of an introduction. You made us into what you now fear. He stood as well, facing the Emperor across the table. You want to destroy us for being dangerous? Then destroy every species in this galaxy. Because any of them would have done what we did. Any of them would have fought back. The only difference is that we learned faster than you expected. We adapted quicker than your models predicted. We refused to die quietly. Jia stood beside him. We are offering you peace, not surrender. Peace. We want sovereignty over our star system. We want reparations for the 4.3 million lives you took. We want a guarantee that you will never attack us again. In return, we will not attack you. We will not seek revenge. We will not come for your worlds with weapons blazing. We will simply exist, separate from your empire, independent, free. And if we refuse? Admiral Thexlan asked. Hyunwoo looked at each of them in turn. Then we will fight. And we will keep fighting. And even if you win, even if you destroy every human in existence, we will make sure the cost is so high that the empire never recovers. You will spend decades rebuilding. Your enemies will see your weakness. Your empire will fracture. And all because you refuse to leave one species alone. An old voice spoke from the shadows. He is right. Everyone turned. An ancient being stepped into the light. Elder Counselor Reshta. She had served the empire for 4,000 years. She rarely spoke. But when she did, even the emperor listened. I have seen this pattern before, she said. Her voice was like wind over sand. Twice in my lifetime, the empire has pushed a desperate species too far. Both times we won the wars. Both times the cost was catastrophic. The humans are correct. If we fight them now, we may destroy them. But we will break ourselves doing it. And the galaxy will see that we can be broken. She turned to the Emperor. We have a choice. We can admit we made a mistake. We can offer peace to a species that wants only to be left alone. Or, we can commit to a war that serves no purpose except pride. I know which choice wisdom demands. Emperor Krelthar looked at Hyunwoo for a long moment. 6,000 years of rule, 10,000 years of imperial tradition, all of it coming down to this single decision. State your full terms, he said finally. 1 week passed. The Grand Council chamber filled once more with representatives from across the galaxy. This time, the atmosphere was different. Instead of arrogance and routine ceremony, there was tension and curiosity. Every species wanted to see how this impossible situation would resolve. Hyunwoo and Jia stood at the center of the chamber again. Emperor Krelthar sat on his throne, but his posture was different, less commanding, more measured. Beside him, High Chancellor Vormis held a data tablet that contained the final text of the treaty. The Valtheran Accord, the Chancellor announced, his voice amplified through the chamber. A treaty between the Valtheran Empire and the human species of Earth. Let the terms be read and witnessed by all assembled. He began reading. First, the Empire recognizes the complete sovereignty of humanity over the Sol system. All planets, moons, asteroids, and space within a radius of 50 astronomical units from the star Sol are declared human territory. No imperial vessel may enter this space without explicit permission from Earth's government. Murmurs spread through the assembled aliens. 50 astronomical units was a massive territory for a single planet species, but the Empire was granting it anyway. Second, the Empire acknowledges responsibility for the attack on Earth 6 months ago. The deaths of 4.3 million humans is recognized as an act of aggression without justification. As reparations, the Empire will provide resources, technology, and monetary compensation over a period of 50 years. The total value is calculated at 2.7 trillion imperial credits. More murmurs. Louder this time. The Empire never apologized. The Empire never paid reparations. Yet here they were, doing both. Third, a demilitarized zone is established around human territory. No Imperial military vessels may approach within 100 astronomical units of Sol without advance notification and approval. Violations of this boundary will be considered acts of war. Admiral Thexlon stood in the military section, his face unreadable. His fleet had been given orders to maintain distance. It was humiliating. But it was also necessary. Fourth, humanity is granted observer status in the Grand Council. They may send representatives to all open sessions. They may speak on matters concerning their interests. They are not required to participate in Imperial military actions or submit to Imperial law outside their own territory. This caused the loudest reaction yet. Observer status in the Grand Council was usually granted only after a species had been part of the Empire for centuries. Humanity had been known to the galaxy for 6 months and had spent that entire time either being attacked or fighting back. High Chancellor Vormis looked up from his tablet. These terms have been negotiated and agreed upon by both parties. Does the human delegation accept them as written? Hyun-woo stepped forward. We accept these terms, but I want to say something before we sign. The Emperor gestured for him to continue. Hyun-woo looked around the chamber, making eye contact with representatives from dozens of species. 6 months ago, we did not know you existed. We thought we were alone in the universe. Then you came. You killed millions of us. You taught us that the galaxy is dangerous. You taught us that we needed to be strong, to survive. He paused. But you also taught us something else. You taught us that even the mightiest power can make mistakes. You taught us that strength without wisdom leads to tragedy. You taught us that the true test of civilization is not how much you can destroy, but whether you can choose not to destroy when given the chance. He turned to face the Emperor directly. You could have chosen to annihilate us. You had the power. You had the justification by your own laws. But you chose differently. You chose to talk. You chose to compromise. You chose peace over pride. For that choice, you have our respect. Emperor Krelthar's expression was impossible to read. Then we would have fought, Hyun-woo said simply. And you would have won. Eventually. But the Empire would have lost something important. You would have lost the trust of every species watching today. You would have proven that might makes right and nothing else matters. Instead, you proved that even an empire 10,000 years old can learn, can change, can choose better. He walked to the treaty document displayed on a holographic pedestal. Jia joined him. They both placed their hands on the signature panel. Their names appeared in the human writing system, then translated into Imperial Standard Script. The Emperor descended from his throne. For the first time in recorded history, he walked to a treaty signing and placed his own mark alongside another species' representatives. The moment was captured by recording devices from 1,000 different worlds. Let it be known, the Emperor declared, that the Voltharan Empire and humanity are no longer enemies. We are not allies. We are not subjects and masters. We are neighbors. Let both species remember this day and the choices we made. The chamber erupted in sound. Some species applauded. Others argued among themselves. A few looked worried. If humanity could force the Empire to negotiate, what did that mean for the rest of them? Could they also demand better terms? Could they also refuse submission? 3 months later, Earth appeared on the holographic display in Jia's new office. She now served as humanity's permanent ambassador to the Grand Council. The office was modest compared to those of the other representatives, but it had the most important view in the galaxy. A window, looking out at the massive structure of the council itself. Her communication panel chimed. She accepted the call. Hyun-woo's face appeared. He was back on Earth now. serving as an advisor to the unified government that had formed in response to the crisis. "How are things at the council?" he asked. "Interesting," Jia replied with a slight smile. "3 species have approached me this week. They want to know how we did it, how we forced the Empire to treat us as equals. I think we may have started something." "Rebellion?" Hyun-woo looked concerned. "No. Evolution. The Empire is changing. Slowly. They are reconsidering their approach to first contact. They are training their diplomats to be more cautious. They are reviewing their protocols for using force. It turns out that almost destroying a species and then having to negotiate with them is embarrassing enough to prompt reform." Hyun-woo nodded. "And our defenses? We now have 73 orbital platforms, 12 ships capable of interstellar travel. Research teams have made breakthroughs in propulsion that will let us explore beyond Seoul within the year. Taemin says, we will have our first colony ship ready in 18 months. Good. We must never be vulnerable again." Jia looked out at the stars. "We also received a request today. 5 species want to establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth. Not through the Empire. Directly with us. They want trade agreements, technology exchanges, cultural programs." "What did you tell them?" "I told them we would be happy to talk. We are not isolationists. We just wanted the right to choose our own path. Now that we have that right, we can build relationships based on mutual respect instead of fear." On Earth, in the Pacific Ocean, a memorial stood at the edge of the Great Crater. So-yoon had designed it carefully. 4.3 million names carved into black stone that spiraled inward toward the center. At the center, a single word in every human language. Remember. Families came daily to visit the names of loved ones. They brought flowers. They told stories. They cried. But they also looked up at the sky where Earth's defense fleet patrolled. And they knew those millions had not died for nothing. Their deaths had awakened humanity. Their deaths had forced Earth to look outward. Their deaths had given humanity the strength to stand equal among the stars. Taemin stood in his laboratory, surrounded by younger scientists. They were working on the next generation of propulsion systems. Not weapons. Not defense platforms. Exploration ships. Research vessels. Trading ships. Tools for building instead of destroying. "We proved we can fight," he told his team. "Now we must prove we can do more than fight. We must prove that humans are worth knowing, worth trading with, worth having as friends instead of enemies." On Valthos Prime, Emperor Krelthar watched the same memorial ceremony through his own displays. He had ruled for 6,000 years. He had seen countless species rise and fall, but he had never seen one rise quite like this. From ignorance to threat to neighbor, in just 6 months, High Chancellor Vormes entered the throne room. "The preliminary reports are complete. 11 species have submitted formal complaints about their own integration into the Empire. They cite the human treaty as precedent. They demand renegotiation of their terms." The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. "And so it begins. We showed mercy to one species, and now they all want the same. Is that wrong?" the Chancellor asked carefully. "No," the Emperor admitted. "Perhaps it is overdue. Perhaps the humans have taught us a lesson we needed to learn. An empire built on fear alone is fragile. An empire built on respect might last longer." Above Earth, Captain Mincio stood on the bridge of the Defiance. Her crew was preparing for humanity's first journey to another star system. Not to conquer, not to claim, just to explore, to see what was out there, to meet others on equal terms. She thought about the speech Hyun-woo had given at the council, about choosing strength with wisdom, about being dangerous but choosing not to destroy, about proving that humanity deserved its place among the stars not through violence but through character. "Navigation," she called out. "Set course for Alpha Centauri. Let us see what our neighbors are like." Armendicent, let us see what our neighbors are like. Armendicentauri. Navigation. The ship began to move. Behind it, Earth continued to build, to grow, to reach outward. The species that had been attacked 6 months ago no longer existed. In its place was something new, something stronger, something that had learned the hardest lesson the galaxy could teach. They had learned that the universe was dangerous. They had learned that they needed to be strong. But most importantly, they had learned that strength meant nothing without the wisdom to use it well. The Defiance jumped to faster than light speed. Humanity's journey into the galaxy had truly begun. Not as conquerors, not as victims, but as equals who had earned their place through courage, intelligence, and the willingness to choose peace even when violence was within their grasp. In the Grand Council chamber, Jia closed the day's session. She looked at the empty seats around her and allowed herself a small smile. 6 months ago, she had been an aide to an ambassador delivering what might have been humanity's final message. Now, she represented a species that the galaxy could no longer ignore. A species that had proven itself worthy of respect. The stars awaited. And humanity, having survived its first test, was ready to see what came next.